Welcome to Just a Minute. Thank you. Hello. My name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, once more it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners from around the world, but also to welcome to the programme 4 talented exponents of this game who can display their skill with words and language as they try and speak on the subject that I give them, and they try and do that without hesitation, repetition or deviation. And they are seated on my left, Julian, Clary and Sue Perkins, and seated on my right, Paul Merton and Charles Collingwood. Will you please welcome all 4 of them? Beside me sits Sarah Sharp, who's going to help me keep the score and blow the whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. As usual, I will ask them to speak on the subject that I will give them, and they will try and do that without hesitation, repetition or deviation. And we're going to begin the show with Sue Perkins. Sue, I'm nervous of this subject, especially in your hands. The subject is the contents of Nicholas's wallet. 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
Nicholas's wallet is full of French letters because he has a Parisian pen pal, and the communication is florid and varied. Also, a freedom pass, so he might traverse the highways and byways of...
Charles Challenge.
We got highway and byways. She was deviating slightly.
I thought it was hesitation.
Hesitation, yes. Via the highways and byways. Well, you obviously did think it was a hesitation.
I do think it was a
Yeah.
hesitation, but you said deviation. But
Well,
anyway. Oh, Charles, listen, I'll be generous too. It was a hesitation.
I'm not looking forward to talking about this subject, though, I have to point out. But anyway, here we go.
Now's your chance. 48 seconds starting now.
I looked in Nicholas's wallet just this afternoon, and you would be amazed to see that there is a Labrador dog in there, squashed very tightly, because there's hardly any room for a 4-legged creature to fit in there. Nonetheless, it's Nicholas's favourite little pet, and I'm not for one moment going to suggest...
Julian Challenge.
Let's just stop this now, shall we?
I quite agree. Most devious thing I've ever heard, yes. I got a Labrador pet in my wallet.
I know.
I say you admit it.
I rest my case.
No. We can go into the realms of the surreal, Charles, but I think that was taking it a bit too far. So, Julian, you have a correct challenge. And there are 60 seconds. You've got a point, of course, for a correct challenge. 27 seconds available. The contents of Nicholas's wallet starting now.
Just before this recording, Nicholas asked if I wouldn't mind holding his man bag while he visited the lavatory. Well, curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it. It was calf skin, quite good quality, and there were a number of credit cards, as you might expect, and his...
Paul Challenge.
There's no hesitation.
There was a slight hesitation.
Is that a hesitation? Bold.
The audience don't think
Did
so.
you not find a Labrador in there?
Listen, Julian, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say it wasn't quite hesitation, because the audience definitely felt that way, and they are the final arbiters. And there are 8 seconds for you to continue on the comment.
Why are we listening to you? We're there to final arbiters. Why are we listening to you?
You call yourself the chairman?
Yeah.
They were the arbiters of decisions about challenges.
There's anarchy.
Oh, really?
But not about my wallet. So, Julian, continue. With 8 seconds to go, the contents of Nicholas's wallet starting now.
What really shocked me, though, was a lock of hair with a label on it, and it belonged to Camilla Parker Bowles.
I'm surprised you kept it as a souvenir, actually.
I burnt it on a full moon.
That means she will rise again.
In this game, whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point, and of course it was Julian Clary then, so he's in a strong lead at the end of the first round. And Julian, it's your turn to begin. The subject is waiting for the phone to ring. 60 seconds starting now.
My agent called me the other day and said someone very important wanted to take me out to the pictures. Who is it? I said. You'll never guess, was her reply. It turns out it was David.
Copperfield, good kids.
It was David Beckham.
David
Dimbleby?
Nixon. I mean, it's hesitation, I'm afraid.
Definite hesitation, and we'll
It's a
never
shame.
know. We will unless he gets back in again. So, Paul, correct challenge, 45 seconds, waiting for the phone to ring, starting now.
I was sitting the other day waiting for the phone to ring when they phoned up and said, my agent said, Julian Clary can't make it. Can you go and meet David at the Ivy? And I thought, are you talking about the same man? The one individual whose name begins with a D and ends in the same...
Sue challenge.
Repetition of name.
Yes,
Oh,
was
yes,
his
yeah,
name,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Sue, you got in with 33 seconds on the subject, waiting for the phone to ring, starting now.
I represent David Dimbleby, and he was desperate to meet Julian Clary. We phoned, got through, and...
Julian challenge.
Hesitation, unfortunately.
It wasn't. She was going magnificently.
Don't you want to hear the rest of my story?
Can you remember who it's about?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm longing to hear the rest of your story, Julian, but I've got to be fair within the rules of just a minute.
it's got to be fair.
It wasn't hesitation.
Well, you never have been before. It's a Premiership footballer.
Well, we could hear it after the round's over if you haven't got in before. Waiting for the phone to ring, Sue. 28 seconds, starting now.
David Platt, erstwhile Premiership footballer, waiting on a date with Julian...
Paul challenge.
Repetition of David.
Yes.
Correct.
David Dimbleby.
David Dimbleby.
Yeah.
He's not on the thing. So, Paul, you've got in with 24 seconds on waiting for the phone to ring, starting now. Paul challenge.
So, I've got to answer that. It won't be a minute. I was hoping this might make a phone ringing noise, but it didn't, so the joke didn't really work. But never mind. I challenged myself. Hesitation.
I know. Well, that was a correct challenge, so I suppose I've got to give you a point for it then.
I listened very carefully.
Yeah, I know you were listening very carefully.
Yes.
And you've got another point. You've got 23 seconds waiting for the phone to ring, starting now.
Before the invention of the answering machine, one had to stay indoors waiting for the phone to ring. I remember spending many mornings expecting the gas board to come and attend to my redundant...
Sue challenge.
Hesitation.
Yeah.
Yes, because the word wasn't quite clear, was it? So we interpret that as hesitation, Sue. 13 seconds waiting for the phone to ring, starting now.
The most painful time when one waits for a phone to ring is when you've met somebody and you're waiting to see if they could possibly be interested in you. You exchange digits, give out a number.
Charles challenge.
Well, I'm afraid it's only a three-letter word, but it was a repetition of you very, very quickly. You and you and you.
I was worried
Repetition
about
of you.
I was worried about the exchanging digits bit.
Yeah. I always like to give someone a finger or maybe a whole hand sometimes,
Yeah.
or maybe an arm, if it's gone really, really well.
Yes.
On one occasion, a torso. Never saw
That must have gone very well.
it. Really well.
4 seconds, Charles, waiting for the phone to ring, starting now.
As an actor, one has spent so many years waiting for that phone to ring in the hope...
So Charles Collingwood, speaking as a whistle when, gained that extra point. And he's now taken the lead just ahead of Paul Merton. And Sue Perkins and Julian Clary equal in third place, 1 point behind. Paul Merton, we're back with you to begin. And the subject is the perfect man. Can you... Yeah, it's a strange subject. Would you tell us something about that in this game, starting now?
When I gaze at our esteemed chairman, I can't help but think of him as the perfect man. He has hosted this magnificent programme, Just a Minute, ever since its inception on the radio in 1967, and Nicholas Parsons has not missed a single recording, and I think that deserves a 1-minute tribute of applause.
Well, I'm overwhelmed.
The audience gets the point. Yeah, you get the point. You did all the work.
Repetition of this action.
Right. Well, Paul should have been speaking when the whistle went. So, but the audience were certainly in full throttle when the whistle went. I'm overwhelmed, I'm touched, I'm flattered. Thank you, audience, you are lovely. I wish I'd come round and kiss every single one of you, but you don't want to get my cold, so... well, that means that Paul gets a point because he was not interrupted, and the audience get a point each. And there are about 400 of them, are there? Right. So we move on. And whose turn is it next to begin? Oh, my goodness me. Sue Perkins. The subject now is the perfect woman. Starting now.
I think the perfect woman is somebody who is delighted with herself, or at least satisfied with the lot she has been given. When body dysmorphia hits a woman, you should never succumb. The magazine saying too big or small, the top half is elevated when it should be sunken. Never ever listen. The ideal... I don't know what I'm talking about. What magazine says you should have a sunken top half? Sunken top half weekly.
Charles, your challenge.
Well, I probably won't get the subject, but I was just trying to be kind because I saw her in such terrible state. I mean, as you said, she didn't know what she was talking about.
This is how I normally look.
So basically, on her own admission, she didn't know what she was talking about, so it's deviation.
I think in this game you can talk rubbish as long as you don't deviate, hesitate. She wasn't deviating from the perfect woman. I mean, that could be her concept of the perfect woman. I don't know.
It isn't, but yeah.
It is. Well, there we go. Yeah. Charles, the benefit of the doubt, and you tell us something about the perfect woman in 40 seconds, starting now.
I'm gazing out into the audience and I can see the perfect woman. She's about in row 12. And hello, will you please meet me afterwards outside in the street because I want to explore your...
Sue, challenge.
I'm staging an intervention. The slight hesitation.
There was a slight hesitation, yes.
Well, I think
it
it's
might
a better
have been...
challenge than the one I gave her. So I agree.
But it was, certainly, I think she was right to hesitate there.
Yes.
The idea of making one of our audience out in the street afterwards, really.
I mean, that's soliciting.
Romantic, is it really? Meet me on the street
Yeah.
later.
Coming on just a minute to get a date.
Yeah.
Yes.
28 seconds, Sue. We're back with you, aren't we? The perfect woman, starting now.
When Nicholas Parsons appeared in the Rocky Horror Picture Show in nothing but a basque and fishnet tights, I thought to myself, there goes the perfect woman. Oh, it was an extraordinary sight. Hair coiffed, makeup pitch perfect, the rouge colouring his cheeks. No Aunt Sally, this one. I was in love, as were the rest of the audience, who couldn't believe the definition of calf and thigh, elegantly perched on those 3-inch heels.
So it's going from one extreme to the other, isn't it? Paul got that incredible reaction from her, and you've got quite a different one. I don't know where I stand now psychologically in
You need help.
Yes. You were speaking when the whistle went, and you gained an extra point for doing so.
Oh.
And you are equal in second place with Paul, 1 point behind Charles Collingwood. And Charles, it's back with you to begin. Paying through the nose is the subject. 60 seconds starting now.
Something that I'm sure annoys everybody in this audience is when they realise they're having to pay through the nose. That is, to pay more than you should do for something you feel isn't worth that amount. I have, however, tried to pay through the nose, literally, by sticking a 10p piece in my mouth and going, I would like to buy that object, and sneezing it out of my nostrils to see, and it hurt like hell, I've got to tell you. So that was certainly the only time I was literally going to pay through the nose.
Sue, challenge.
Repeat of literally.
He did indeed, that's right. And you've got 28 seconds on paying through the nose. Sue, starting now.
Once I bought a donkey, who I thought was excellent value, but apparently 14,000 euros for a nag is a little above what I should have put out. I had nowhere to tether him bar my small suburban garden, so ended up paying again for a rescue centre to get him. He now loiters in an enormous acreage munching on hay, and I am a bankrupt. I can't help it. I see an animal's eyes and they draw me in. Endless sanctuaries...
So Sue Perkins was speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point, and she has leapt forward, and she's now in the lead, one ahead of all the others. Julian, Clary, will you begin the next round? The subject is my favourite season. 60 seconds starting now.
I think I'll plump for autumn, Nicholas, when the berries are on the trees and everything is a lovely golden hue, perhaps the odd touch of orange. I run through the fields in Kent where I live and I feel very at one with nature in my favourite season. The others come a poor second. Spring doesn't do it for me. No, my favourite season, as I've already repeated.
Sue challenge.
Little hesitation.
Yes, a hesitation. Right. My favourite season is with you, Sue, and 35 seconds available starting now.
I love spring. Bursting through the hard ground, you get crocuses and other bulbs with flashes of colour, and suddenly you are alive again. We had the most...
Julian challenged.
Well, I'm alive in the autumn.
I go into cryonic suspension around about September and come... Yeah. Well, I mean, I meant metaphorically
a personal opinion, Julian, and all those crocuses and other bulbs make her feel alive again, so we give her the benefit of the doubt and say you keep the subject, Sue, 25 seconds, my favourite season starting now.
What I particularly like about my favourite season is that Christmas is not in it. I find that a chore, and therefore winter is a bore. I know that all the festive fun is coming and I simply can't join in. So I hunker down and wait for the grass to turn green and the leaves to appear fully on the trees again, and I will skip, yes, dance through Hampstead Heath, for which I've been arrested on numerous occasions.
So Sue Perkins was speaking as a whistle when gained that extra point. She's increased her lead at the end of that round ahead of all the others. Paul Merton, we're back with you to begin, and the subject is camping holidays. Tell us something about that. 60 seconds, Paul, starting now.
So there I was with Frankie Howard, John Inman and a few other people, and I suddenly realised a camping holiday is a wonderful way to get out under canvas, or indeed in a caravan. You can attach this vehicle to the back of your car and drive deep into the countryside, pitch up a tent, and before you know where you are, you're communing with nature, you're drinking mountain streams, you're walking across...
Charles Challenge.
Now, you can't drink mountain streams. You can't. I mean, that's just impossible.
You can drink the water from mountains.
You can, but you can't drink mountain streams. I mean, think gallons, tons of it.
He's a fancy man.
From mountains. So, therefore, I think it's hesitation, because drinking mountain streams
wasn't
doesn't make
hesitation,
sense.
Charles.
If you say I drink beer, it doesn't infer I drink all the beer in the world.
No, Charles, I think Paul's made his point.
I think he has, yes.
He didn't say actually drinking from mountain streams, but I think he conveyed that he was drinking the water that came from mountain streams.
Oh, I understood that bit, Nicholas. I'm not quite that stupid.
Well, then why did you challenge?
Because he said, I'm drinking mountain streams, and I just thought it was a slightly odd
Paul
phrase.
answered you. He said, if you say you're drinking beer...
Well, I know he did,
all
yes.
the beer in the world. Right, so...
Paul, you're quite right.
Nicholas.
An incorrect challenge.
Mr. Tambourine.
See what you say.
39 seconds, Paul. Camping holidays starting now.
Some people eschew the outdoor holiday, or as the holiday.
Julian Chaladay.
I'll call that hesitation.
Indeed.
Yes, indeed, you were right. And Julian, you now have 35 seconds to tell us something about camping holidays starting now.
I've got a 4-man tent, although I have on occasion fitted 12 people in it, if you know what I'm saying. Yes, camping expeditions, well, it's in my blood. This is a gift, this subject for me.
Sue challenged.
I was laughing, it was hesitation.
He did hesitate, didn't he? Well, but he was keeping going, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Through the laughter.
I think they were happy memories.
I think we give him the benefit of the doubt
Yeah.
and let him continue with...
I'd like to hear about some of those memories.
Yes. Camping holidays, Julian, 14 seconds starting now.
I've got a billy can, which I brew outside the canvas, and it...
Paul
The
challenged.
hesitation.
Yeah, there was, yes. He didn't know what he was doing outside the canvas, really, did he? 8 seconds on camping holidays. Back with you, Paul, starting now.
And in the middle of the night, when you hear some animal scurrying past, you think to yourself, I am amidst creation. All is right.
Paul Merton has then speaking to the whistle when gained the extra point, and he's now moved ahead. He's just 2 points behind our leader, Sue Perkins, and they're both a few points ahead of Julian, Clary and Charles Collingwood. Sue, we'd like you to begin the next round. Oh, who I'd like to have been. 60 seconds. Who I would like to have been. 60 seconds starting now.
I would have liked to have been Greta Garbo, the Scandinavian siren, by which I mean she lured seafaring folk to their death by singing in a high-pitched fashion from rocks. She famously claimed, "I want to be alone," and when it was said by her, people respected it. If I was to...
Julian, Clary, challenge.
Repetition of said.
Yes, she did say things, didn't she? So, Julian, you have who I would like to have been, and you have 44 seconds starting now.
I would like to have been David Beckham, the Premiership footballer. Those lovely tattoos all down his arm and legs to die for, let's face it. And he can run like the wind, a lovely wife, 3 darling children. That is why the person I would most like to...
Sue, challenge.
hesitation.
Oh, yes, there was a hesitation then. So, Sue, 24 seconds on who I would like to have been starting now.
I'd like to have been Joan of Arc, because she rocked that bowl cut way before it was fashionable in the 60s and the Beatles chanced upon it. However, there was that slight burning thing, which meant I'd have met a sticky end. So, in many ways, I'm re-evaluating that. Plus, there was the visions and...
Julian, challenge.
Did she have the clap?
Wasn't she the Virgin Queen of France? Sort of.
I think you're introducing something that wasn't even they were aware of at the time. I think it existed, but...
What, fire? Do you remember the invention of fire, don't you, Nicholas? You endorsed it, didn't you? You said this is a step for mankind.
Couldn't believe it.
I was the one who rubbed the 2 sticks together, that's
Yes.
right.
Well, they said they were sticks.
Sue, 10 seconds on who I would like to have been starting now.
Sally Gunnell's a marvellous human being and was never immolated, so win for me. Also completed the 400 metres with verve and pep. Extraordinary.
So Sue Perkins, another point for speaking as a whistle went, has moved ahead and increased her position of strength ahead of the others. Charles Collingwood, it's your turn to begin. The subject now is Bach. Will you tell us something about that subject? Is that man in this game starting now?
Johann Sebastian Bach was a famous composer, and although I don't know very much about him, I am aware that he was looked on as a sort of god by the fellow composers of his time, rather like some actors look upon other actors. Oh, that's a shame, yes.
We had the phrase look upon.
Yes, and actors
Yes.
too, right. So, Paul, you've gone in with 42 seconds on Bach, starting now.
Bach, of course, was not only the father of the organ, but he also produced a lot of children that were composers in their own right. One thinks, of course, of Fred Bach, who was a magnificent composer of the Georges... Oh.
Sue, challenge.
Hesitation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 29 seconds. Bach is with you, Sue, now, starting now.
Bach was a flagrant contrapuntalist. It's not rude, however, it's a musical term. And it's true, he spawned an inordinate amount of imitators. At the time, he wasn't known as the Baroque legend we perceive him to be now. However, he composed extraordinary works such as the Goldberg Variations, the Brandenburg Concertos, numerous preludes and fugues, which are fiendish for even the most accomplished of pianists. Some find it robotic, hypnotic, maybe. However, it plays with the brain as
A Julian challenge.
Repetition of however.
Yes, there was 2 howevers there. Well,
Interested, no?
Yes.
I was interested in that.
You were very interesting.
Yeah.
Audience were very quiet, though, weren't they?
Yeah.
I think I put half of them to sleep. It was almost like a veterinary procedure.
Julian, you've cleverly got him with 1 second to go. It's the game. Those are the rules. And you've got Bach in 1 second, starting now.
His movements were...
So I've heard we're moving into the final round.
Oh,
right.
fancy.
So Charles Collingwood, who hasn't played the game as much as the others, but has contributed so well, he's in a very strong 4th place as we go into the final round. He's only just behind Julian Clary, who's 1 point behind Paul Merton, and he's trailing Sue Perkins by a few, as she's in the lead. Julian, it's your turn to begin, and the subject is my hobby. Tell us something about my hobby. I should tell our listeners he gave a very strange reaction then. But 60 seconds starting now.
My hobby is table tennis, and I'm rather expert in it. I've got the good wrist movement, which I think we can blame my lifestyle for. I love it, because you can set up your table anywhere in a nook.
Charles, challenge.
Repetition of table.
Table tennis, yes.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
afraid, yes. Right. Well, listen, Charles. 46 seconds, my hobby is starting now.
My hobby is stamp collecting. I long to get the little squares and lick them the sticky side up and place them into this aforementioned book and then go away and find out how much they're worth. And do you know, my little book is worth...
Paul Cyrus.
Repetition of little.
Yes.
I do say little rather a lot.
Yes, it's a good tip for the rest of us.
Yeah.
When you hear one, you know there's another one coming up right behind you. Right, fine.
Paul, a correct challenge. You have 30 seconds. My hobby starting now.
I like to stuff mincemeat into dead animals, but then, of course, there's all sorts of hobbies, isn't there? If you look at something like the eagle, a magnificent creature of the air. But in taxidermy circles, you can see this thing that's once it's been completely pushed full of breadcrumbs, not breadcrumbs, sawdust. Breadcrumbs. Do they taxidermy with breadcrumbs? No, that's cooking, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cooking.
That's
I
cooking.
think I've eaten that, actually.
Cooking and taxidermy, I always get those things mixed up. You don't want to have an omelette at my house, I'll tell you that much.
So, Sue, a correct challenge. 13 seconds. My hobby starting now.
My hobby is eating eagle with breadcrumbs. It's delicious, an extraordinary taste bud sensation. In fact, that is true.
Paul Chalmers.
She's quite right, it's beautiful.
It's very Moorish.
Eagle in breadcrumbs is very Moorish.
Very
Right.
Moorish.
And what is your challenge when the rules are just...
I just thought it might be amusing to endorse what she was saying. But I have no actual challenge within the rules
not
of the
enough
game.
to gain a bonus point, I'm afraid.
Oh, that's absolutely fine with me.
Oh, you're right. Fine,
Yeah.
fine. So Sue was interrupted.
Glad to see you working so well.
Paul. No, Sue.
Sue, yeah.
5 seconds. My hobby starting now.
My hobby is collecting then breaking spectacles, which is an expensive one. However...
Paul Chalmers.
Well, I don't know. Is this deviation because we had the other hobby? So you've said my hobby is this, then my hobby is that. Shouldn't it be my other hobby? If you have my
You're
hobby...
quite right,
you
Paul.
Can't have,
You're
do you know what I mean?
required my other hobby
Yeah.
rather than my hobby.
Yeah.
So, Paul, you have half a second.
It won't
Give
make
us
me...
the recipe for eagle and breadcrumbs.
Exactly.
Starting now.
Tuna mayonnaise and cuckoo.
So let me give you the final score. Charles Collingwood did bravely and magnificently and came in a strong and powerful fourth place. But he was only 1 point behind Julian Clary, who gave great value as always, and he was 3 points behind Paul Merton, usual good value. But out in the lead this week, ahead of them all, was Sue Perkins. So we say, Sue, you are our winner this week. It only remains for me to say thank you to these 4 fine players of the game. I thank Sarah Sharp, who's helped me with the score. We thank our producer, Claire Jones. We're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game. And we're grateful to this lovely audience here in the Radio Theatre. From them, from me, Nicholas Parsons, and the team, goodbye. Tune in the next time we play Just a Minute. Welcome to Just a Minute. Thank you. Thank you. Hello. My name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, once more it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners in this country and around the world. But to welcome to the programme 4 talented, exciting, humorous individuals who are going to play Just a Minute. And they're going to display their cleverness with words and language as they improvise on the subject that I give them. And they try and do that without hesitation, repetition, or deviation. And they are, seated on my right, Paul Merton and Liza Tarbuck, and seated on my left, Kit Hesketh-Harvey and Josie Lawrence. Please welcome all 4 of them. Beside me sits Sharon Leonard, who's going to help me with the score. She'll blow the whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. And we're going to begin the show this week with Kit Hesketh-Harvey. And he's going to tell us something, I hope, about electronic books. In 60 seconds, if he can, starting now.
Some say that electronic books signal the demise of the public library. It would be extremely sad, for Nicholas Parsons would have nowhere to go in the daytimes to keep warm. But there's no denying they are very useful when you're strap hanging on a crowded underground, because you can turn the pages and maintain your equilibrium with one hand, leaving the other to roam freely amongst your fellow passengers. To this end, I ordered one of these electronic books from a company I can't mention on this non-commercial station, but which rhymes with swindle, over an internet company whose name has to do with an Amazonian tribeswomen people with no breasts. Anyway, it arrived. I was very thrilled.
Lisa, you've challenged us.
I just want to clear this Amazonian
I'm
tribe.
so sorry.
with
No,
no
the
breasts
Amazonians
up.
had one breast missing so that they could pull their arrows.
Oh, so they had one breast.
Yes, I'm sorry. No, I said no breasts.
So everybody
yes.
who works at the warehouse, for example.
No,
They all had to, yes.
No.
Lisa, you have a point for a correct challenge.
Thank you so much.
You have 12 seconds, and tell us something about electronic books starting now.
The publishers amongst us are actually rather frightened by electronic books because when they are travelling on the tube, they now can't see what the vast majority of the population are reading anymore. So as convenient as it is...
Whoever's speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point. On this occasion, it was Lisa Tarbuck, and she is the only one to have scored any points in that first round. And so she's naturally in the lead. She's out there on her own, and she's going to begin the next round.
Oh, am I?
Because the subject we've got for you, Lisa, we thought you'd go well on this one, is rubbish. Starting now.
Material that someone feels is surplus to requirements could be...
Kit,
I'm
challenge.
sorry, deviation. The subject is rubbish, and she's making perfect sense.
Oh, you're being too
count?
pedantic.
Oh, sorry.
Lisa, rubbish is still with you, and you've got 56 seconds still available, starting now.
I heard from somebody who lives in Suffolk that when a plastic bag gets caught in a tree and you can see it, it must always be referred to as a pair of witches' knickers, which I rather liked. It's better than saying trash or garbage, but sadly there is too much of it in our world. I was once in India, and the Bay of Bengal, every single tide, brought up so much plastic bottlery that they had to employ a whole village of women, which was good.
Kit, challenge.
I'm sorry, have we had plastic twice? Because there was a plastic bag up being a
Plastic bag.
witch's knickers.
Yeah, plastic bag in the tree.
There's no hyphen, is there?
No.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So, Kit, you've got 32 seconds on witches' knickers. Good subject for another show. The subject is rubbish, Kit, and you have 32 seconds starting now.
These days, rubbish doesn't officially exist since we have to recycle everything. It all has a further use, and dustbin day is like playing animal, vegetable and mineral against your local council to see who can win. I tried to throw out a compost heap once. That really stumped them, I can tell you. And thermos flasks don't go down very well. So I run out of things to say.
So, Paul, you had a correct challenge, and you have a point for that, of course, and you have 9 seconds. Tell us something about rubbish in this game, starting now.
It was one of Eric Morecambe's catchphrases. What do you think of the sofa? Oh, bland.
Lisa, you challenged.
It was a hesitation over
Yes,
something
it
that was
was.
going to be
Right.
marvellous.
Yeah.
Right. So another point to you, Lisa, for a correct challenge, and you've got 5 seconds. Rubbish, starting now.
There's a wonderful phrase that goes good riddance to bad rubbish that was written over... But
Paul, you challenge.
There was a hesitation there.
Yes, there was a hesitation before the whistle went.
Yeah.
It was. So, half a second, Paul. Rubbish, starting now.
Garbage, if you're
Yeah,
American,
yeah.
but of course it's more...
So Paul Merton was then speaking as a whistle. Wayne gained that extra point, and he's now in second place, 1 point behind Lisa Tarbuck. And Josie Lawrence, we'd like you to begin the next round. The subject is my morning routine. Tell us something about it, starting now.
The alarm goes off, a kind of irritating, repetitive beep. I knock it off the table, taking my glass of water with it. The blooming cat has made a nest in my hair and slept there all night. I pull myself over whatever love god happens to be in bed with me. Sorry, Mum, I am making certain points up. I make my bed, tuck...
No.
No, do you know what? That was a horrible trigger finger too. I'm sorry.
No, actually, Josie,
making.
your light came on first, so you actually challenged them.
I don't understand.
So
Challenge when you got to love God.
what is your challenge? Was it for repetition?
It wasn't true about the love God bit.
No, darling. Was it
Repetition of bed.
It was repetition.
Thank you. Repetition of
So,
bed.
well, listen, you've got a correct challenge.
All right.
So you get a point for a correct challenge, and you keep the subject, and there are 34 seconds. My morning routine starting now.
I tuck in the sheets, I pull over the duvet...
Paul challenge.
Hesitation.
Yeah, well, hesitation.
Quite
the
right.
duvet became a div or something. All right, Paul, there are 31 seconds still available. Tell us something about my morning routine starting now.
I like to get up about 6:30, wander round to the shop, round the corner, wander around and round. 2 words. Aha, 2 words. Aha.
Sorry, did he just say... I thought it was round and round. What did you say?
Round and round.
Oh, did you? Oh,
I
you
did, luckily.
clever old sausage.
Wasn't deliberate. Wasn't deliberate.
Wasn't deliberate, no. Well,
No, not that time.
26 seconds are still with you, Paul, after another point, and the subject is still my morning routine, starting now.
I tune into Radio 3 just after 7, tuck into my porridge, have a cup of tea, and it's a gorgeous way to start the day. I often find as well that working in the earlier hours of the morning pays great dividends, because by about 10 o'clock you can legitimately say, I've done 60 minutes times 2, and that's a wonderful achievement. I now carry on with the rest of the 24-hour period that's now I'm going to embark on. I also like to believe that to be patriotic early in the morning, to face the...
Right. Paul, you were speaking as a whistle when, gained that extra point for doing so, and you're in the strong lead ahead of all the others. Kit Hesketh-Harvey, it's your turn to begin. And the subject I've got for you now is the worst put-down I ever had. 60 seconds, starting now.
I think the worst put-down I ever had was when I fed the cat to the pigs. It was not at all happy to be put down.
Josie,
Hesitation.
Yes, hesitation. Right. You've got the subject. It's 50 seconds available. The worst put-down I ever had, Josie, starting now.
No word of a lie. I was in a black cab once, and the chap turned to me and said, "Do you know, you look just like Catherine Zeta-Jones, only uglier." And I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And so I laughed. He then said, "Don't worry, you..." He apologised. I thought it was quite funny.
What did he say then?
He said, "I didn't mean it as an insult."
Oh, give her a bonus point for that. Right, yes. Paul, you were the one to challenge. It was... give us your challenge.
Oh, I forgot what it was. Yes, it was
hesitation.
Yes,
right.
hesitation, yeah.
And you have 32 seconds. The worst put-down I ever had, starting now.
I think it happened to the Comedy Store players. Josie might have been on stage at the same time. A man in the audience suddenly shouted out, much indignant, "You're just saying funny things and people are laughing." That really sort of threw us, because somehow he was very unhappy with that state of affairs. Although it was booked as a comedies club, he didn't want to know about laughing out loud. He wasn't... Were you there, Josie?
Yeah, it's true.
Kit, you were first to challenge.
Yes, I'm sorry, that was a hesitation.
It was,
as well,
yes. You've got 10 seconds. You tell us something about the worst put-down I ever had, starting now.
I was in the back of a cab dressed as Catherine Zeta-Jones one evening, watching Paul Merton swoop above my head. I asked to be put down at Trafalgar Square, but do you know, he took me all the way to the end of the Strand. I was absolutely brilliant.
So Kit Hesketh-Harvey was speaking as a whistle when gained that extra point. He's moved forward into second place, just ahead of Liza, Tarbuck and Josie Lawrence, but a few points behind Paul Merton, who's our leader still. And Lisa, we'd like you to begin the next round. A lovely subject, the circus. Tell us something about the circus in just a minute, starting now.
The circus is actually something that was established in ancient Rome, and I believe it was called the Circus Maximum.
Josie, challenge.
Hesitation.
She did, yeah. She was pondering whether what she said was...
Maximus, wasn't it? Yeah.
52 seconds are available for you, Josie. The circus, starting now.
First time I went to see the circus, I was 8 years old, and I couldn't believe it. It was in the days when they used lots of animals, which they don't tend to do now. The elephants came on, dressed in pink tutus. Now, I know it's cruel to think of them like that, but as an 8-year-old, I've already said 8-year-old.
Oh, yeah, all time.
8-year-old 3 times.
Yeah.
No, you
twice.
said I've already said 8-year-old.
Oh, true.
After the second time.
Paul, you have the subject of the circus. You have 34 seconds, starting now.
I was recently visiting the circus where I met a great clown called Tweedy who invited me into the circus ring at the end of the show. This was a very emotional moment for me. It reminded myself of when I was 5 years old, again at a circus. The clowns were saying to the children there...
Oh, sorry, no clown and clowns.
18 seconds, Paul, still with you. The circus, starting now.
When I feel the atmosphere inside that big top, see the excited crowds, the young children hesitantly looking up at the great animals...
Kid challenge.
Young chills.
Young children.
Did you say children?
I thought I did.
Sorry. Oh, don't.
I think it went into... It sounded a bit like chill, but he did mean children.
Did you, right, okay.
Yes.
The
Give him
childer, it might have been, in a sort of Herodian
Yeah,
way.
we don't get pedantic on these things. 10 seconds with you, Paul, still. The circus, starting now.
Oxford Circus is one of the busiest...
Kid's challenge.
Oxford?
Yeah,
Oxford Circus.
No, I think I did mispronounce. I think I did.
All right, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt in this case. I gave him the benefit of the doubt on the other one, but you have it this time, Kit, and you have 7 seconds. The circus, starting now.
At the other end of Regent Street, where we now sit, is Piccadilly Circus, a seething hotbed of vice where nightly Nicholas Parsons plies his dreadful trade from...
You were speaking of the whistle went, so to be fair within the rules of just a minute, you gain that extra point and you move forward. You're creeping up on Paul Merton, who's still our leader, and Josie Lawrence, it's your turn to begin. So can you tell us something about doing the tango, starting now?
Currently on that programme where people dance, I'm not sure I'm meant to say the name, but it is on the Double BBC programme, so I might be able to say it. Anyway, what you have to... I must stop breathing when I talk.
It was a hesitation.
It was a hesitation, but
Yeah.
she was afraid of saying Strictly Come Dancing, but we don't mind saying it.
No, it's a
damn, could I
BBC
have
programme,
said
you're
it?
allowed to say
Yes.
it. Yeah. We're all one happy family.
So what we're going to do, Josie, is
Even
give you
Edwina Curry.
give you, as you're inhibited by that, and you don't play the game quite as often as the others, we're going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say you have 49 seconds on doing the tango, starting now.
What I've been told is you mustn't have a gap between the bodies. Also, you must never smile. The tango is deeply, deeply...
Yes.
Deeply, deeply.
Deeply, deeply.
Put me out my misery, because I know nothing about the tango.
Paul, you have the tango, or doing the tango. 39 seconds, starting now.
Rulo Valentino popularised the tango in 1920s America. Women in the United States couldn't get enough of this Latin lover. A new kind of man, a different sex symbol. He exuded Latin passion.
Kit challenge.
2 Latins.
Two Latins,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
yes.
sorry.
Latin charm.
Oh, yes.
Latin charm, Latin lover.
26 seconds is with you, Kit, doing the tango, starting now.
It's written in quadruple time with a dotted beat on the second, which is its derivation from the Cuban habanera. Quite easy to do. Generally, it features a violin solo, possibly an accordion, because it derives from the salon music of the 19e siècle in Paris, to which it returned in the 1900s.
Paul challenge.
He went from 45 revolutions per minute to 33.
Absolutely, yes.
Extended
Very
and
languorous.
slow.
It's a very languorous dance.
Yes,
No.
it was. Yeah.
Even
Was that too
Clement
languorous
Freud, when
for
he was
you?
in the show, never went as long as that.
Did he
on
really
a-
not?
When he
I was-
dragged
I
his
was-
words
no,
out.
no, sorry.
No, that was too long, Kit. I'm sorry. 4 seconds with you, Paul, doing the tango, starting now.
The tango on Strictly Come Dancing is absolutely a sight for sore eyes.
Lisa
There's
challenge.
a slight stumble between the two words of, oh, you're going to come down hard, I can feel it. It's nothing I haven't done myself. I'm quite prepared to say, oh, back off.
No, I don't think there was.
No, it was just a little bit of something.
So Paul's still got the subject, and there's half a second to go, starting now.
Sir Bruce Forsyth and the tango are...
So Paul Merton was again speaking as a whistle when gained that extra point, has increased his lead ahead of Kit Hesketh-Harvey and Josie Lawrence and Liza Tarbuck in that order. And Paul, we're back with you to begin, and the subject now is a good trip. 60 seconds starting now.
When I was about 8 years old, a good trip was getting on a coach to somewhere like Littlehampton. We lived in Morden, and to go to that part of the coast took about 2 or 3 hours, and we used to enjoy getting off the bus and running along by the sea and hell in the air and running around.
Kit challenge.
Are you allowed to get Elling?
Yeah.
Is that
You're allowed to
English
do that,
or is
aren't
that
you,
deviation
Yes, you're allowed
from?
to do it, but it
You're allowed to
doesn't. Will be interpreted as hesitation.
Really?
Because you didn't say another word.
No.
You put a
No,
verbal
it was
thing in.
evocative, though, wasn't it?
I don't think it was that sort of trip.
Weren't you looking at me and thinking of Littlehampton?
All the time.
I know.
Kit, you have the subject. You have 45 seconds. A good trip starting now.
Can a trip be good? It's a banana skin. Perhaps we feel schadenfreude. What the Greeks call hubris comes before a fall. And when Michael Portillo tripped at Enfield, Robert Kilroy Silk fell flat on his face all the time. Or even Edwina Curry, voted early off in Strictly Come Dancing, means to me a good trip. We are happy to see them crash and burn. I once experimented with banana skins to see what...
Josie,
Oh, I've said bananas.
Josie?
A repetition of bananas.
Yes, it
You
was.
mentioned banana skins
2
before.
bananas,
Yes.
yeah.
Very good.
And Josie, we well listened. You've got him 15 seconds to go on a good trip starting now.
There were garden gnomes all over the place on the lawn. It was emerald green. Fairies came down from the sky. Those mushrooms weren't really the kind of thing that you normally have with a fry-up, methinks. I was in Dartington at the...
So, Josie Lawrence was then speaking as a whistle when gained that extra point. She's creeping up on Kit Hesketh-Harvey. She's only 2 points behind him. And she's 4 or 5 behind our leader, Paul Merton. And Liza Tarbuck follows her and only a point or 2 behind them. Kit Hesketh-Harvey, it's your turn to begin. The gods of ancient Rome. Tell us something about them in this game, starting now.
There is a premier division of gods of ancient Rome: Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Mercury, Vulcan. We've all heard of them, and they tend to have planets or chocolate bars named after them. There is, dragging along the bottom, the also-rans, which are rather like minor Catholic saints. Verminus, the god of cattle flies, or Abionus, the one to whom I pray, who is the god to whom one invokes the parting of one's children finally from the family nest when you're bored to tears with paying for the little blighters and they refuse to leave. There's a god of manure, I believe, and one called Terminus, he of milestones. Pretty odd, that one, isn't it? But other a god of lost causes, there needs to be one, doesn't there?
Some delightful rubbish there, which we enjoyed. Paul, you challenged.
It was a hesitation.
It was a definite
Benefits of a
hesitation.
classical education.
Paul, 9 seconds are still available. Tell us something about the gods of ancient Rome, starting now.
The gods of ancient Rome are a sprightly number of individuals. They are all omnipotent. Let me take you through them one by individual.
Oops, I'm sorry, I fell straight for it, yeah.
You fell straight
I thought he
for
was
it,
going to
yes.
go one by one, and he didn't,
He
because
didn't,
he's
no,
too
no.
damn smart.
I don't know anything about the ancient gods, though. How many seconds have we got left?
You only got 1 second left.
really?
So you're all right.
Okay.
1 second, the gods of ancient Rome, starting now.
Bert, he's one of them. He's one of the gods of ancient Rome.
So Paul Merton was speaking as a whistle when gained that extra point has increased his lead at the end of the round. Liza Tarbuck, we're back with you to begin, and the subject now is UFOs. Is that something of your interest or
Oh,
not?
you know it is.
Anyway, talk about it. 60 seconds starting now.
I feel very excited by the prospect of UFOs because generally you're mocked and laughed and ridiculed at if you say you've seen or believe them. And I like it when you hear an army captain or somebody fairly high up in the government who's finally admitted to seeing one and a crop circle and feeling something strange or spotting an odd light on a lane in Suffolk. and then pursued it with a mate and turned round and said, "Do you see that?" "Yes, I saw that." And then they write to the 14 Times.
Oh, there's a bit mean. Saw that and see that, saw that. Oh, sorry. It was
too many that's.
less of a repetition than it... Well, it was more of a repetition than it shouldn't. It was a pretty minor repetition of that, is what I was going to say. I thought it was going to be say that.
You'll pay for it.
I won't.
You'll
I'm sure
pay
I
for
will.
that.
Yeah.
In this life or another?
Well,
green
possibly
man.
another.
I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. The UFO
Very
is
chivalrous, I
still
would say,
with you, Lisa. Another point, and you have 30 seconds starting now.
I was walking one time near a wood up by Liverpool, just outside, in actual fact. It's where a windmill is. I'm trying to make it picturesque. It wasn't. And a great light was coming from the other side of this mound, so I went and had a look. And I was quite amazed by the iridescence and the lustre of this light. It seemed...
Josie Challenge, yes.
So sorry, repetition of light. That's
Yes,
good.
repeated the light. So, Josie,
It was a
you have
lie.
another point.
It was a lie.
It was a lie. I just didn't want you all to think, "Oh, God, she's seen one." I haven't.
Josie, you had a correct challenge, and there are 9 seconds available. You tell us something about UFOs starting now.
When I first saw Close Encounters of a Third Kind, I came out of that cinema and thought, unidentified flying objects do exist. I was determined to...
I'll give you the score now, because I've just had a message to say we have time for one more round. Hooray! But before we do, let me tell you what the situation is as we go into the final round. Liza Tarbuck is trailing a little in spite of all the UFOs. She's a few points behind Josie Lawrence, who's only 1 point behind Hesketh-Harvey. And he is 3 or 4 points behind Paul Merton, who's still in the lead. And Josie, we're back with you to begin. And the subject is camels.
Camels?
Camels.
Camels?
Yeah, the things you smoke. If you
yeah.
You go to see them in the zoo, you can smoke them. I don't know if they're still selling them or not. 60 seconds starting now.
I've got a joke about camels. It's not very funny, though, so I'm not sure if I should tell it, but
Well,
I will, just to make the time go. A couple of
Sorry, my thumb slipped. I didn't mean to challenge.
I don't think she hesitated anyway.
I didn't know I was going to say that.
That was an incorrect challenge,
She was
Josie.
making like a
Really?
So
camel.
you've got a point for that.
Terrible joke.
And we don't mind if it's not a very funny story. Keep going on the subject, camels. And there are 53 seconds starting now.
A couple of camels go into a vicarage and say, "One hump or two, vicar." Anyway, let's talk about camels now. I really am a huge fan of these glorious creatures.
Paul challenge.
What did the vicar say? The joke finishes. The vicar walks into his living room. There's 2 camels there saying 1 hump or 2. Surely that demands a reply from the vicar.
Well, he offered him a cigarette.
Paul.
I just
I'm
seem to be
in-
there must be more to the joke than that.
I know there should be a payoff, but she doesn't know it.
It was a camel cigarette.
What's that got to do with 1 hump or 2?
Nothing. That's why it's surreal.
Give Josie a bonus point for that. And you've still got the subject, Josie. And you have 41 seconds on camels starting now.
But they can be little blighters. They kick, they have bad breath, they spit at you.
Are we allowed all these days in a row? I'm
Quite a
so
lot of
sorry.
days.
What's that?
Was it too
There
many
was a
days?
lot of days.
I know it was a rhetorical device, but I think
Lot
we're
of
allowed
days.
rhetorical devices.
There were a lot of them.
I'm
Yes,
so
lot of
sorry.
All right.
No, don't be.
So she did repeat that a lot. So, Kit, you have 35 seconds on camels starting now.
To me, camels are UFOs, undesirable furry obstacles. But to T.E. Lawrence, the author of the 7 Pillars of Wisdom, they are a remarkable beast because you can keep warm with them, ride them, milk. I did the same thing, didn't I?
To them.
Yeah.
3 then.
Them,
Hoist by my own camel.
Yeah.
That's right. So, Lisa, you've got him with 20 seconds to go on
Oh, good.
camels starting now.
There's nothing more delightful than a camel. And I am... Really?
How can you say that in front of Nicholas Parsons?
I've never been compared to a camel before.
Not favourably.
No. Paul, you're absolutely wicked. Lisa, an incorrect challenge. And you still have the subject. 16 seconds. Camels are starting now.
The camels that I used to draw when I was a child always had interesting things in their humps because you could pull out the fur, in my mind, and have perhaps a pub with different levels of alcohol or drinks or lemonade or milk. And in the other one...
Paul challenge.
There was quite a lot of oars, as we've been going on them.
About that,
milk,
I was just happy and surprised to keep the subject.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, someone's lost it for thems, too many that's, and so I think it's only fair you've got it for too many oars. Oh, no, it isn't fair at all, because you've only got 1 second to go.
Oh.
I think you've probably got more points than anybody, Paul. Would you like Lisa to finish with the camels? Right. 1 second to go, Lisa. Camels starting now.
The lips of a
Paul challenge.
Hesitation.
A bonus point to Paul, but another point to Lisa for him being interrupted. And there's half a second to go, Lisa. Camels are starting now.
Kissing a camel would be the most beautiful...
So Liza Tarbuck was speaking as a whistle and gained that extra point, but she did finish in 4th place, but only just behind Josie Lawrence, who was only 1 point behind Hesketh-Harvey in 2nd place. But a few points ahead of him was Paul Merton. So we say, once again, Paul, you are our winner. Right, thank you. It only remains for me to say thank you to these 4 fine players of the game. I also thank Sharon Leonard for the way she's kept the score and blown her whistle so delicately. And we're got an individual round of applause there, Sharon. And we're grateful to our producer, Claire Jones. We're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game. And we're grateful to this lovely audience here who've cheered us on our way. So from our audience and from these 4 fine players sitting beside me up here, and from me, Nicholas Parsons, thank you. Tune in the next time we play Just a Minute. Yes. Welcome to Just a Minute. Hello. My name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, once more it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners, not only in Britain, but also around the world. But to welcome to the programme for this very special anniversary recording 4 brilliant, talented, humorous personalities. And they are 2 people from Britain, that's Paul Merton and Marcus Brigstocke, who played the game many times. And we are also greeting 2 people from India, and they are Anuvab Pal and Cyrus Broacha. They're both comedians, they're both entertainers, they're both presenters, and we're going to have a wonderful show. Would you please welcome all 4 of them? And as you may have guessed from the fact that there are 2 people from Britain and 2 people from India, yes, this show is actually coming not from Broadcasting House in London, not even from England or Scotland or Wales or Ireland. It is coming from Mumbai. And we have a thoroughly excited, animated Mumbai audience here ready to cheer us on our way throughout the show. And this particular recording is coming from the Comedy Store in the centre of Mumbai. Beside me sits our producer, Talusha Ganani. She's very kindly volunteered to help me keep the score and blow the whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. But just to remind you of the rules, I ask each one of them in turn to speak on a subject that I give them, and they try and do that without hesitation, repetition, or deviation. And whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point. They can repeat the subject which is on the card or the words within the subject. So we'll start off with Paul Merton. Paul, a very good subject for starting. A cultural exchange. Will you tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now?
I first came to India about 8 years ago. I was performing in an improvised comedy troupe, playing to various audiences in Mumbai, Bangalore, Calcutta, and we had a wonderful time. Every show was attended by a very enthusiastic audience who...
Marcus challenged.
I think repetition of audience.
Yes, you had the audiences before, so repetition, yes, and the audience recognised it as well. And so that's a correct challenge, Marcus. You get a point for that. 41 seconds still available. A cultural exchange starting now.
The rules of this particular cultural exchange, which of course is very special, are that if I succeed this evening, I'll be allowed to stay here in Mumbai for the rest of my life. However, if I don't win the show, I will be forced to leave immediately.
Cyrus.
He said I about 4 times.
Cyrus, we let 1 eye go, or 2, but 4, I quite agree.
Well, he's wearing glasses.
Anuvab, yes. You want to say something?
Yeah, I hate to interject, Nicholas, but I have a quick question. I'm not sure if he's talking about a cultural exchange or he's seeking asylum.
So, Cyrus, you had a correct challenge. You got a point, of course. You have 27 seconds starting now.
Cultural exchange is very important in the context of living in my particular building, where we have 11 different people from different cultures, all eating.
And Marcus challenged.
Yeah, repetition of different
people.
You rascal.
Cultures.
Mean man. You evil person.
You started it.
Okay. There goes the cultural exchange.
Marcus, correct challenge, a point to you. 19 seconds, a cultural exchange starting now.
I had a cultural...
Yeah.
Well, he started off with I again.
Oh, yes.
I know we don't normally challenge on I, but as you already have...
We had 4 already. I definitely think we can allow that one. So, Paul, another correct challenge, and 18 seconds, a cultural exchange starting now.
Well, I think this cultural exchange is going very well. This is the first round of Just a Minute we've played, and everybody's spoken so far, and I think the 2 magnificent cultures that are India and Britain can come together in friendship and harmony. Let our hands reach across the oceans and shake each other warmly and say, we are together because we play this special game.
As I said earlier, in this game, whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point. And this occasion was Paul Merton. And at the end of the round, Marcus has got 2 points, Paul's got 1, Cyrus has got 1. And we've heard from, but he has yet to score. But there's plenty of time. Cyrus, we'd like you to begin the next round.
Pleasure.
I gather you are a Beatle fan.
The insect as well as the group, yeah.
Well, anyway, we've chosen for you the subject of the Beatles. 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
There are 7 Beatles in all. First one was called John Lennon, then there was Paul McCartney, then there was Cyrus Broacha.
And Marcus challenge.
Oh, yeah, the audience are ahead of me. Repetition of Then There Was.
And then there was...
This would never happen in England. They take the Englishman's side. They're all British.
It's a difficult game. As we say, it sounds so simple, but once you start playing it, you realise how difficult it is. Marcus, a correct challenge. You have 53 seconds still available. The Beatles starting now.
I like the work of the Beatles, and I would like now to recite the lyrics to Love. Right,
yes, you got back in, Cyrus, immediately with another point. And you've got 49 seconds. The Beatles starting now.
4 clear messages from the Beatles: love, peace, harmony, narcotics. All taken with a pinch of salt across the different countries that live.
Annabelle, you challenged.
Yeah, I think it's a deviation. I think he's giving us a recipe.
I don't think he was, but we enjoyed the interruption so much. I'm going to give you a bonus point for that.
Well, thank you.
But Cyrus, as you were interrupted, you've got 36 seconds on the Beatles starting now.
Greatest music band ever in the history of music, the Beatles, without doubt. You can
Paul challenge.
Well, we did have music.
You've had music.
When?
You said it twice just now.
How can I divorce music and the Beatles?
Well,
let me ask the audience.
But if you play Just a Minute, you have to divorce them because you mustn't repeat words.
Okay, I concede.
And also, if you said it before when you were talking, you can't repeat it when you come back in again.
Right.
Paul, it was a correct challenge. You've got 30 seconds. Tell us something about the Beatles starting now.
Well, when I first started in the Beatles round about 1959, I remember saying to George and Paul and John, saying, this is fantastic being in the Beatles. Do you think we'll be able to make records and sell them all over the world? And we said, yeah, we think that's a great idea. Why don't we do that? I wish I hadn't started on this accent now, because I don't know how much longer I've got to speak. But I'm still going anyway, because the thing with the Beatles was...
I did, Nicholas.
Thank God, somebody did.
Yes. Nicholas, I feel it was a deviation.
Because his accent wasn't very genuine.
No, because there was
Right, that's a good one.
Thank
his
you.
accent wasn't very genuine. Yes,
Thank you, Nicholas.
Yes, thank you. Right, so the Anuvab, yes, you got in very cleverly. With 8 seconds to go on the Beatles, starting now.
John Lennon, who was a member of the Beatles, was shot dead outside the Dakota building, not the stutter.
Sorry.
Dakota guy.
Call that hesitation.
Yeah.
You get a hesitation.
Although in our culture, it's allowed sometimes.
Cyrus, I know, I've been here quite a lot. It is, but not in just a minute. But you cleverly got in with 4 seconds to go on the Beatles, starting now.
The Beatles' greatest rock group in the history of rock.
Oops, Marcus, you pressed your buzzer just before the whistle went.
Repetition of history.
You did say history.
That was in the last one.
History just repeats itself.
As I said before, not in just a minute. And so that is a true saying. But Marcus, it was a correct challenge. He did repeat the word history. You get a point for that. You have half a second to go on the Beatles, starting now.
Love, love me.
I know he did. I'll tell you what, as you haven't played the game before, I'm going to be generous and say, yes, he repeated love, so I'm going to give you a point for that. And say that you have a quarter of a second to go on the Beatles, starting now. Marcus Chan.
I felt there was a hesitation. Expressed as a percentage of the available time, I felt there was really a massive hesitation.
Marcus, let's sort this out like men. 50,000 should be enough.
He didn't actually start at all. So you are correct. You have another point.
But the British are back.
Paul, you wanted to say something?
Yes, what was wrong with my accent?
I thought it was quite brilliant, but I wanted to bring in Anuvab before.
Oh, I see, fair enough.
Before.
I've just been wondering about it.
No, you needn't.
But don't do Malayalam again.
So let's assume the whistle's gone, and at the end of the round, Anuvab and Paul are equal in second place, but 3 points ahead of them, equal with 5 points, are Cyrus Broacha and Marcus Brigstocke. They're both in the lead. Isn't it exciting? And Anuvab, it's your turn to begin, and subject is colonial India, and your time starts now.
Wajid Ali Shah in colonial India was thrown out of Lucknow, and he didn't want to travel with any possessions or any money as long as he had access to 100 royal cooks to make him a perfect biryani.
Marcus challenge.
Hesitation.
Yes.
It's not often that biryani gets a whoop from a member of the audience.
Yeah, I know.
I think he should be allowed to hesitate. We're all hungry. Biryani, pause.
Exactly.
Right. Marcus, correct challenge. 46 seconds. Colonial India starting now.
The subject is colonial India, so now seems like a perfectly reasonable time for me to say sorry.
I just have one thing to say to Marcus. Hesitation.
39 seconds for you, Anuvab, on colonial India starting now.
General Malcolm Muggeridge of the 1st Jaipur Infantry liked to wear long breeches and go for deep swims.
Deep swim. Is it Muggeridge or something that rhymes with that?
He went on deep swims.
This is why the British left, because of phrases like deep swims.
Yeah.
Anuvab, you've challenged yourself.
I have.
And I think you've got a correct challenge, haven't you?
I was appalled by deep swimming.
Well, I think that's deviation. So you have a correct challenge.
Oh, right. Okay.
And well listened, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
And give you a point for that. And you continue with 31 seconds on colonial India starting now.
Lord Mountbatten liked parrots.
Paul Merton challenge.
Slight hesitation between Lord Mountbatten and liked parrots. Although it's historically accurate, it was a hesitation.
It was definite hesitation, yes.
I like the reference to Malcolm Muggeridge earlier. That was fantastic.
Thank you very much.
I've not heard his name for 35 years.
He's a very deep swimmer, though.
28 seconds, Paul, for you on colonial India starting now.
We brought paddling to India. Before that, people were doing deep swimming. And we said, no, just go into the sea as far as your waist. It's perfectly fine. Nothing will happen. And then the population saw that the British were right. You only had to go in up to your waist. There was no point in doing this.
Cyrus, you challenge.
Waist.
Yes, it
Oh, yes,
up to your waist.
yeah.
That's right. So you, Cyrus... You've got the audience with you, or some of them anyway.
Why I'm reflecting about his waist at
13
10:30.
seconds for you, Cyrus, on colonial India starting now.
Colonial India still exists in Mulbar Hill, where I live. Every morning we greet each other in the mother tongue English. The watchman comes up and says, hello. I say, hello. Ish. Hello-ish. Don't let me complete. Hello-ish.
No, you're not going to get away with it like that. Marcus, you challenge first.
Yes, repetition of hello.
4 seconds for you, Marcus, on colonial India starting now.
There are remnants of colonial India all over Mumbai. Some of them are beautiful. Most of them made me feel faintly awkward about the whole situation.
So, Marcus Brigstocke speaking as the whistle went, gained another point. And Paul, we'd like you to begin. In fact, it's your turn to begin. The subject now, Sherlock Holmes. Tell us something about that character in this game, starting now.
Sherlock Holmes lived at 2 Ditto 1B Baker Street, and his homely fan... Well, what am I talking about? Homely fan doesn't mean anything, but don't pick me up on it. Oh.
Marcus, challenge.
Yeah, repetition of
Homely
homely
fan.
and...
Homely and...
Yeah.
Yes.
And deviation from confidence. So.
Yes. I was trying to do 221B without repeating the 2.
Yes.
We thought that, you know, in India we studied 221 Baker Street. We thought maybe it is 2 Ditto Baker Street. I had no idea.
Marcus, a correct challenge. 51 seconds. Sherlock Holmes starting now.
Sherlock Holmes was a fictional detective who wore quite the most splendid deerstalker hat and was accompanied by his friend Dr. Watson, and he helped him to solve all manner of crimes against the dreadful Moriarty, who was very much his nemesis. Now, I have enjoyed the stories of Sherlock Holmes many times, but that, I suppose, is exactly the sort of twist and turn that one should expect to get.
Mark Cyrus challenge.
Should?
Oh, yes, he did say should before, didn't he? Well,
Yeah, check the tape.
But he also said, it's your favourite challenge.
Yeah, but I thought you'd let that go because nobody said anything.
No! Right, Cyrus, the correct challenge. 21 seconds. Sherlock Holmes starting now.
People don't know this about Sherlock Holmes. He was born in a Parsi Bagh in India, Rustam Bagh to be precise. His actual name was Kersi Meher Homji. He was 6'4" tall. He had long, deep pockets wherever he went to carry...
Marcus challenge.
Repetition of he. He.
I think
to Marcus.
Yes, I think that's what we call being hoisted on your own petard.
We're very adult here.
7 seconds are still available. Marcus, Sherlock Holmes starting now.
My favourite Sherlock Holmes story is that of the mystery of the blue carbuncle, which was a thing that was stolen, and Sherlock...
Right, thank you. Point to Marcus. Go speak when the whistle went. Right. The situation now is Marcus has increased his lead ahead of Cyrus and Paul, Merton and Anuvab in that order. Cyrus, we'd like you to begin the next round.
Done.
The subject, the cinema-going experience. Tell us something about that subject in this game starting now.
The cinema-going experience in India is a beautiful one. For 2 hours of pleasure, you spend 4,000 rupees if you are a family of 4 or more. I personally have 8 children, 3 aunts, 2 uncles. We spend more than 10,000 rupees every time for the cinema.
Yes, sorry, a repetition of spend.
10,000, yes. So, Marcus, you've got in with 47 seconds. The cinema-going experience starting now.
In the UK, the cinema-going experience involves making as much noise as you possibly can with the snacks that you've brought in, flinging them around, spilling them everywhere if you possibly can, and generally being fairly disgusting and ignoring the flashing nonsense that's showing on the large screen ahead of you. This has been my cinema experience anyway. Every time I've been to see a film recently, it's been entirely ruined by the disgusting, oafsome chavs that have decided to sit anywhere near me. However, I decide to join in with them and eat the popcorn and spew it all over the place as well, and get a gallon of Coca-Cola and fling that into the face of the...
Paul challenge.
Advertising. Other soft drinks are available.
Yeah.
And that is not permitted on BBC. So, Paul, correct challenge for deviation, advertising. You have the subject of 11 seconds to go. The cinema-going experience starting now.
Due to the culture of health and safety back in Britain, now people go to the cinema and there's not so much subdued lighting as there used to be. It's actually quite bright because they don't want people falling over, tripping down the stairs and suing the people.
Anuvab, yes.
Advertising theatre lighting.
Coca-Cola do very nice lighting. And a delicious, refreshing beverage.
Yeah.
Lit up.
An incorrect challenge. So, Paul, you still have the cinema-going experience and you have 1 second to go, starting now.
The projectionist up in the projection.
Right. So Marcus Brigstocke was in again, speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point for doing so. And Marcus, it's your turn to begin again. The subject is now a song and dance, starting now.
A song and dance means really a palaver, but a song and dance can also mean literally that, a song and a dance. Collecting a visa to come to India is a song and dance. However, when I performed this, when I was getting...
Hesitation. He said, which is not a word.
That's right. He did hesitation. Well listened, Anuvab.
Thank you.
And you've got a song and dance, and you have 49 seconds starting now.
A song and dance is something I like to do on Wednesdays, alone at home, surrounded mostly by vegetarian food, and very loud...
Sorry, Anuvab.
Cyrus, yes.
It was the end. It was going great. I love the story. So I'm not the only lonely person with plants.
Yeah. Wednesdays.
You two should get together.
We did.
My parents didn't approve.
Hot date.
You're telling me?
I can see a little romance starting. So, right, there were 41 seconds left. Cyrus, you've got a song and dance starting now.
In 1974, I auditioned for a song and dance. It was called Godspell. I performed beautifully.
Hesitation, we're not sure how he performed.
No, but...
His hesitation, he was obviously thinking about what he did and he couldn't continue. So there are 34 seconds. Another point to you, Anuvab, and you've got a song and dance starting now.
Returning to my vegetarian food and Wednesdays.
Paul, challenge.
Repetition of vegetarian food.
Yes, you said that once.
I like it a lot.
Yes.
But you can't like it too much in this show, you mustn't repeat it. Right.
Fair enough.
It does repeat on you uninvited sometimes.
Personally, I feel you use too much ghee.
Paul, there are 31 seconds for you to take over a song and dance starting now.
You are my honey, honeysuckle, I am the bee. I'd like to sip the honey sweet...
I am the bee.
I didn't write the song.
Well, who cares?
It was written in 1896. You'll have to take it up with somebody else.
I would like to ask the learned judge, is that allowed? Can we
You
sing?
can do whatever you like as long as I allow it. But what was the challenge? Well, listen, well done. 19 seconds for you, Cyrus, on a song and dance starting now.
Song and dance festival.
Paul, challenge.
Hesitation.
How can you hesitate before you start?
You know that gap there was between Nicholas saying start now, me buzzing and you talking?
It's the accent.
That was the hesitation. He's in there.
And I always
My
say...
zipper was stuck. For God's sake, there's got to be some...
Do you think you have trouble at home with you like this?
My parents left at an early age.
God, I'd hate to be married to you. For the correct challenge, you have 17 seconds on the song and dance starting now.
When we think of song and dance, people like Fred.
Cyrus challenge.
Well, he sort of took his time, just like I did.
Yes, it was definitely hesitation.
Yeah.
So you've got it back again. So don't feel so bitter. There are 13 seconds for you, Cyrus, on a song and dance starting now.
Song and dance was invented in Europe. 1912 was the exact date. It was a Czech Republic personality who actually...
Anuvab.
He said Czech or a republic, which is not a country.
Which is the way it's said in Czech, but you're right.
Anuvab, you've got another point for a correct challenge, and you have 7 seconds on a song and dance starting now. So you see, you've got it for the same thing.
Yeah.
So you've got the point.
I'm on a hat trick. I got 2.
Right, and you've got 6 seconds, a song and dance starting now.
Every evening at...
Hesitation.
Definite hesitation. Well, there are 5 seconds, a song and dance starting now.
Gene Kelly was the star of many musicals in the 1940s, a magnificent song and dance man.
Right, so we're moving into the final round. So I'll give you the situation point-wise before we do so. And it's very interesting. Anuvab is trailing a little in 4th place, but a very strong 4th place.
Thank you.
Oh. But only 1 point separates the other 3 in this ascending order. Paul Merton, and then Cyrus Broacha, and then Marcus Brigstocke. And so, Anuvab, it's your turn to begin, and the subject is the voice of New India. Tell us something about that delightful subject in this game, starting now.
Chetan Bhagat, the voice of New India.
Marcus.
I'm sorry so soon, but a huge hesitation.
A huge hesitation.
It's an inside thing.
55 seconds are still available, Marcus. Another point to you. The voice of New India, starting now.
I am hoping to become the voice of New India if I stay here long enough, but I think that it is unlikely.
You can do it yourself, Marcus.
I'm hoping to become... I think... I.
Oh, yes.
2 eyes.
Just not learning.
50 seconds. Cyrus, you've got the voice of New India starting now.
The voice of New India goes like this.
Paul challenge.
Repetition of
Can you justify that?
I would like to point out that if I went like a woman in bed last night with me, but that would be different. But this was
Also a deviation from sanity. There was that.
You're like a policeman.
Those are not one of the rules. So, Paul, we're going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I do this on occasion. And, Cyrus, if I can give the benefit of the doubt back to you at some other time, I always redress the balance. So the voice of New India is with you, Paul, and we're going to hear from everybody on this subject. 48 seconds starting now.
The voice of New India sounds like the kind of programme that should be on the World Service, like Just a Minute used to be until some idiot cancelled it years ago. The voice of New India. India, as we see, has changed dramatically over the last few decades. It is now the thrusting, powerful world force that is challenging the rest of the world beautifully. China, perhaps, is on the horizon.
Anuvab, you challenge.
Deviation. Right. From India to China. Yeah. We take that stuff very seriously.
Very seriously, not funny.
What I do is, we enjoyed your suggestion, your interruption. I'm going to give you a bonus point for that, Anuvab.
Thank you, Nicholas.
But he wasn't actually deviating. In fact, he was going very strongly. 28 seconds. The voice of New India. Paul, starting now.
The voice of New India, apart from what I've already said, is very difficult to elaborate on further, but I shall do my very best. The voice of New...
Cyrus challenge.
I thought very came up 3 or 4 times.
I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt on this occasion. I said I would redress the balance if I got an opportunity, because you want to hear everybody on this subject. 20 seconds to go. The voice of New India, Cyrus, starting now.
The voice of New India is highly overrated. Old India, unfortunately, is forgotten. Let me tell you, people, if we stand together from shore to shore, east to west...
Paul challenge.
I got it, okay, sure.
Shore to shore.
Although one was S-U-R-E, but... China was better.
You can justify it any way you wish. But as I said before, it's the way it sounds, not the way it's spelt. Right. So, there are 10 seconds still available. It's back with you, Paul. The voice of New India, starting now.
The voice of New India, of course, is represented by the younger generation.
Marcus challenge.
Yes, I think the subject's the voice of New India rather than Indira.
Oh, it's...
I also heard that.
It's a new pronunciation. It's part of the new voice.
Oh, that's the new voice.
Oh, it's the new voice.
The R is silent.
It's deviation from the subject.
Yep,
I quite agree, Marcus. So you have 6 seconds still. The voice of New India, starting now.
I'm very much looking forward to hearing the voice of New India during the stay.
Paul challenge.
Well, slight hesitation.
There was a definite hesitation.
Yes.
Paul, you have 2 seconds on the subject. The voice of New India, starting now.
Hello, India!
So let me give you the final score. Anuvab has given tremendous value.
Exactly.
But you did finish in 4th place. A very strong, a powerful 4th place.
That's all that matters, the 4th place. Thank you, Nicholas.
And only 1 point separates the other three in this order. Cyrus Broacha, and then 1 point ahead was Paul Merton. So we say, Marcus, you are the winner this time! So it only remains me to say thank you all four of them for the way they have played the game and the fun they have generated. I thank Lucia Galani for having helped me with the score. We're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game, and we're also indebted to Lucia Galani, who has produced this amazing show. So from them, from this audience, here in Mumbai, and from me, Nicholas Parsons, thank you for being with us, and tune in again the next time we play Just a Minute! Welcome to Just a Minute. Thank you. Hello, my name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away once more, it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners, not only in Britain, but around the world. But also to welcome our audience here, because it's another exceptional recording. We have once again returned to India. In fact, we never left the country. We're doing the second call here. And we have a wonderful Mumbai audience here, ready and eager for us to start, full of expectancy and fun. And we have those same four players we had before, and they are, from Britain, Paul Merton and Marcus Brigstocke, and from India, Anuvab Pal and Cyrus Broacha. They're both comedians, they're both entertainers, they're both presenters. Will you please welcome all four of them? And once again, I'm going to ask them to speak if they can on the subject that I give them, and they will try and do that without hesitation, repetition, or deviation. And this particular recording is coming from the Comedy Store in the centre of Mumbai. And Marcus Brigstocke would like you to begin the next show. Oh, what a lovely subject to begin with. And what a difficult one to cope with. Mumbai traffic. Marcus, tell us something about Mumbai traffic in just a minute if you can, starting now.
As you wander softly through the boulevards of old Mumbai, you may be fortunate enough to catch sight of a motor vehicle as it breezes past you, exploring the old streets, with the driver perhaps staring listlessly out of the window, wondering if he'll be lucky enough to see another motorist.
And Val, you've challenged.
Deviation?
Why?
From reality.
Listeners, I can tell you that round of applause endorses his challenge because it is deviation from reality. If you try to walk the streets of Mumbai, you take your life in your hands, I can say.
I found a very quiet bit this afternoon. It was quite delightful.
I think he was walking inside his hotel.
No, Annabelle, I agree with your challenge. Well done. And you have a correct challenge, therefore you get a point for a correct challenge. You take over the subject. 42 seconds are still available. Mumbai traffic starting now.
The lights went to red.
Yeah.
Hesitation.
You didn't actually start.
It's Mumbai traffic. I had to hesitate.
No, they don't hesitate. They just go... and I worked something out, actually. All that tooting they do is not an aggressive one to say, get out of my way. It's to let them know, we're beside you. Just move over. Just say... It's a different skill of driving that you evolve and develop, and it's most amazing.
And you don't even need a license.
Anyway, beside the point, Paul, we have to give that to you, a correct challenge for hesitation, and there are 40 seconds are still available. Mumbai traffic starting now.
I have some experience of Mumbai traffic. I was in a taxi and the driver went for a gap that wasn't there. But by the time we arrived at the gap that wasn't there was a gap that was there.
Marcus Brigstocke.
Repetition of the gap that wasn't there.
I know, I like the way it was sounding, so I didn't stop. I could see myself saying it, but I thought, I don't care.
Paul, bad luck. Marcus, correct challenge. 32 seconds still available. Mumbai traffic starting now.
Beep, honk, toot, blast, shrill, trill, and all the other sounds.
Paul challenge.
Shrill?
Yeah.
Isn't that a popular bird back home?
Yes, I got in one of those fancy taxis that had the elaborate horn.
But it was still repetition of trill, so Paul, a correct challenge, and you have 28 seconds. Mumbai traffic starting now.
Beep, beeps. These are noises that you hear in the streets of Mumbai as the various motor vehicles that have been licensed by the local authorities head towards
Cyrus, you challenge.
It's French. Stumble.
You have the subject, Cyrus, and it's Mumbai traffic, and you have 18 seconds starting now.
Mumbai traffic is divided into different things: scooters, motorcycles, Hyundai cars, Honda. We've also got Maruti. We've also got Toyota.
Marcus.
Repetition of we've also got.
Yes,
Okay, you made your point.
This is our second visit to Mumbai here, the Comedy Store, and I think the audiences are getting onto the wavelength of the show, because nearly every one of them spotted that repetition.
They're all saying they were better than us.
8 seconds are available for you, Marcus, on Mumbai traffic starting now.
I've devised the most ingenious way of crossing the road. You simply head for the densest part of the traffic and climb across the top of the vehicles, and the hope...
Right. So whoever is speaking this game when the whistle goes gains an extra point, and it was Marcus Brigstocke, so naturally he's in the lead at the end of that round. Anuvab, I'd like you to begin the next round.
Right.
And the subject we've got here...
Yes.
It's about that wonderful game which we brought to India, and the Indians are now teaching everybody else. It's just not cricket. Will you tell us something about that phrase in this game, starting now?
When India plays outside the country, it's just not cricket.
Cyrus, your challenge.
15-second hesitation.
I know that's the sad thing about this game. It gets a big laugh. You've got to keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
Let him go on that one.
Anuvab, you've got 53 seconds on. It's just not cricket, starting now.
I had a punchline, now I have no idea what I'm going to say.
Paul, any chance?
Hesitation.
Hesitation. Have you got your punchline yet?
I've already hesitated on it.
49 seconds for you, Paul, on It's Just Not Cricket, starting now.
The game of lawn tennis is just not cricket. There are other sports that aren't cricket as well. They involve rugby, basketball, swimming, synchronised variety of that particular activity, hop, skip and jump. That doesn't involve cricket. There's lots of things that aren't cricket. If we look round at this audience now, I can see several people that aren't cricket. There's a man over there. Oh, actually, he's a fifth test. I can see him over here.
Right. Anuvab, who's challenged.
Hesitation on the kind of man.
You have a correct challenge, Anuvab, and you have 20 seconds. The subject is still It's Just Not Cricket, and start now.
However...
Paul challenge.
Was there a bit of a hesitation?
There was a big hesitation. Anuvab, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and allow you to continue, because you've only played it once before. So you carry on. I will give you the subject. Take a breath and begin on now. Ready?
Nicholas...
I haven't said it yet.
Between the two extremes, there's a happy medium.
Yes. 26 seconds. It's just not cricket. Starting now.
Is it possible not
No,
to...
no. Paul challenge.
Deviation.
Oh, what?
He didn't hesitate.
Very good. Now, what I do on these occasions, I give Paul a bonus point because we enjoyed his interruption there.
Very good.
But anyway, you get a point because you weren't interrupted.
Thank you.
Keep the subject. 24 seconds. It's just not cricket. Starting now.
We've lost 15 games in a row. It's impossible not to hesitate.
Marcus challenge.
He pointed out that it was impossible not to hesitate and then hesitated.
Marcus, a correct challenge. There are 20 seconds. It's just not cricket. Starting now.
The phrase "it's just not cricket" is used by lots of plummy British people to describe things that they don't like. They'll say, "It's just not cricket." And what they mean by that is that they have found the entire thing to be against the rules and not running with the flow of things. Because cricket, of course, has rules and structures that are...
Paul challenge.
Sadly, a repetition of rules.
Oh, rules, yes. And so you've got the subject back, Paul, and you have 2 seconds to go. Ooh, not much. It's just not cricket, Paul. Starting now.
It's just not cricket, said W.G. Grace as he stood outside.
So Paul Merton was then speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point. At the end of that round, Paul Merton and Marcus Brigstocke are equal in the lead, followed by Anuvab Pal and then Cyrus Broacha. And Cyrus, it's back with you to begin. You can take a horse to water. That is the subject, and there are 60 seconds starting now.
You can take a horse to the water, but unfortunately we have a bit of a water shortage at the moment. We also have horses which are disease-bound and are dying left, right and center. Today, as we speak, 365 horses died of thirst.
Anuvab's challenge.
Deviation. I think he's solving a municipal problem here.
Which includes water and horses.
So an incorrect challenge. You have another point, Cyrus, and you have 49 seconds. You can take a horse to the water starting now.
Of course, the problem is far worse in Arabia, where water is very scarce and horses are sometimes eaten as part of a cultural...
Paul, challenge.
A repetition of horses.
Yes.
But horses is...
No, it's a horse. It's singular.
It says horse.
Paul has played the game.
In Punjab, we say horses for horse.
So, Paul, you have 42 seconds, and you take over the subject of you can take a horse to the water starting now.
You can take a horse to the water, but you cannot make it drink. What does this saying mean? It means that you can put a child in front...
Marcus' challenge.
It's actually, I've realised, an incorrect challenge. I was going to say reputation of mean, but he said mean and then means.
That's right,
so,
well done.
So I'm sorry.
He's played the game a lot. He's up to these little tricks. Yes,
Well, don't clap. I screwed it up.
I mean different things.
35 seconds are still available, Paul. You can take a horse to water starting now.
I believe it was Dorothy Parker who was asked to come up with a variation with this, and she said you can take a whore to culture, but you cannot make her think. This was something around the Algonquin table in New York in the 1920s, where the other wits who worked for the New Yorker magazine would gather around and tell each other these magnificent anecdotes and funny stories. Other people at that table, well, I've said table 3 times now.
We just wanted to listen to that story.
Marcus, you challenge first.
Yes, repetition of table, helpfully
yes.
pointed out by Paul.
11 seconds. You can take a horse to the water starting now.
You can take a horse to water the plants in your garden, but it will have trouble reaching the hanging baskets unless it leans right back on its haunches, in which case it may be able...
Sarah's challenge.
It. I heard all of it. 1 and 2 fine because it's a small word and we small
No, it
people...
doesn't matter. If he repeats it...
Yes, no, I
did.
did.
Yes, and he did. And you've got in Cyrus cleverly with 2 seconds to go. You can take a horse to the water starting now.
You can take a horse to the water, but remember...
Right, at the end of that round, Cyrus Broacha was talking as the whistle went and has increased his position. But he's still 1 point behind our leader, Marcus Brigstocke, and the others 2 are trailing, Paul, and then comes Anuvab. And Marcus Brigstocke, it's your turn to begin. The subject is now playing by the rules. Tell us something about that subject in this game starting now.
Playing by the rules in just a minute is very easy because, of course, we have the watchful eye of the lovely Mr. Nicholas Parsons, who, unbeknownst to this audience here, keeps a cattle prod beneath these desks, and if you break the rules more than once, he will attach it to a certain part of your anatomy, pull the trigger, and you will certainly not be breaking the rules again. That's how Nicholas runs this ship, and...
Paul challenge.
Sadly, a repetition of Nicholas.
Yes.
No, I don't think it's sad. It's a lovely thing to repeat.
Yes, it's true. We can't have enough of Nicholas Parsons. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
I was going to give you a bonus point for that, but didn't get enough applause, really. Oh, I don't think I can now. I was breaking it there, wasn't I?
You were.
But a correct challenge he did repeat, Nicholas. 38 seconds, Paul, on playing by the rules starting now.
Playing by the rules in life could be a good moral, perhaps, if you want to continue your existence on this wonderful planet of ours. But if people don't play by the rules, perhaps they're giving themselves an edge over their opponents. If your rivals are playing by the rules, but you actually cheat by turning up early at a particular function or speaking to the manager ahead of them, you don't have to play by the rules if you want to get ahead in this life. That's what I think I'm...
Marcus challenge.
Repetition of life.
Yes, absolutely.
Which, of course, enters us into a big theological debate. Since we're here in India, I don't know...
Nicholas, you could help. Is reincarnation repetition or not?
You are outrageous, the things you say to me, and you get away with it.
Yeah, I know. It's
but
funny,
I laugh
isn't it?
as well because they're funny. Right. So, Marcus, a correct challenge. 16 seconds. Playing by the rules. Starting now.
Playing by the rules has never been something I'm particularly good at, having been expelled 3 times from separate schools, although, of course, that is, of course, mandatory.
Yes.
Of course, of course.
Yes, of course.
Of course.
Yes, that's right.
Unless that's an English phrase.
8 seconds for you, Cyrus, on playing by the rules. Starting now.
Playing by the rules has not been invented in the subcontinent as yet. We haven't yet reached the point where...
Yet.
Yes. The audience are ahead of you on all these things, haven't they?
Do you think we should give the audience a buzzer each?
And the cattle prod.
But, Marcus, you had a correct challenge then. You've got 2 seconds on playing by the rules, starting now.
Playing by the rules is absolutely pointless. I don't see...
So, Marcus Brigstocke speaking as the whistle went, gained another point. So, Anuvab, it's your turn to begin, and the subject now is...
Yes, Nicholas.
Tongue twisters. I mean, you're going in your second language here, and you're going to tell us something in English about tongue twisters. 60 seconds, starting now.
Tongue twisting is something I do on Thursdays, on days when I am not eating non-vegetarian food. I like to sit in a hot tub and twist things.
Cyrus, your challenge.
I thought the twist was a little...
It was hesitation, definitely. He didn't know what the hell he was talking about, did he?
That's what I like.
It's not an easy thing to do, Nicholas.
No, it isn't. No.
And the constant talk about food is getting to me. I haven't eaten since 3.
There are 48 seconds, Cyrus. Tell us something about tongue twisters, starting now.
Tongue twisting is very difficult, and I'm going to show you 3 easy steps to make sure everybody in this room will be able to learn how to tongue twist. First, take your tongue to this side, and then move it around, After that...
Marcus, challenge.
Yes, a repetition of
No! There were 2 distinct sounds. And then
Yes.
I would like the August body here to make
the hair was different, but the
You're pulling at hairs here.
I am not. Your first ha was the same as your last ha.
No! We have many more languages. Our hairs are much more... Well, it's very subtle.
All right, I will put it to the audience.
No.
Do you agree with the challenge? Now, wait a minute. You can't all do it together.
This sounds like the Indian Parliament.
Move your tongue.
And so, Marcus, that was a correct challenge.
Right.
24 seconds. Tongue twisters, starting now.
The best tongue twister I've ever heard is she sells seashells on the seashore, but I can't complete the rest of it because it involves repetition. Twisting tongues is something that happened at my boarding school, strangely enough, as a punishment for turning up late or being early or on time. They just seem to enjoy twisting our tongues, and that's pretty much what British educational establishments are like. But there we go, there's no point in complaining, is there? You just talk if you still can, once your tongue has been twisted and occasionally removed. In the case of one small boy who I sat next to in class, he linked and dribbled.
Well, he was going so well, but it was a hesitation.
It was a hesitation, yes.
Thank God someone buzzed. I was running out of oxygen.
Hesitation on a small boy.
That also happened.
Paul, 1 second. Tongue twisters, starting now.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled...
So, Paul Merton was then speaking as a whistle when gained that extra point, and the scores are at the end of that round that Marcus Brigstocke is in the lead, just ahead of Paul Merton, followed by Anuvab Pal and Cyrus Broacha. There we are.
But it says Cyrus 5 and Anuvab 4. What kind of scoring is that? Okay,
The right kind.
But Cyrus, it's your turn to begin, so we'd like you to talk about aunts and uncles. And you have 60 seconds, starting now.
My aunt is actually my uncle. The story is long and sad. My aunt used to live in a place 3 floors above me. Her name was Teresa. And interestingly, for 24 years, she wore stilettos and nothing else. She'd knock on the door every morning at 6 o'clock and sing Ave Maria in Konkani. Of course, that's exactly the same as the title I just mentioned. I would like to add here that everybody has an aunt who's actually an uncle, and sometimes an uncle who may perhaps be an aunt.
Paul challenged.
Is it on the card aunts and uncles?
It's aunts and uncles in the plural. But just to keep you quiet, I'm going to give you a bonus point. But Paul had a correct...
Bribery is always welcome.
But Paul had a correct challenge, and there are 33 seconds, Paul. Aunts and uncles starting now.
Aunts and uncles is all particularly relative, I suppose. You can't choose your parents, neither can you pick your aunts or uncles. But when I think of my family tree, I realise I've been blessed in both departments. I have some aunts that are actually... What? Sorry,
I just listened to the audience screaming and I wasn't very sure.
There was someone just going, aye.
No, there's a sailor at the back.
No. He did repeat aye. You listened well. You had your friend in the audience who told you. And 19 seconds are available for you, Cyrus, on aunts and uncles starting now.
I would like to now name my aunts. Roshan for...
And Anuvab, you said?
Hesitation on name of aunt.
It's
unless the aunt
Aroshan.
is named...
It's a Parsi name. It's a Parsi name, Aroshan.
I gave you the benefit of the doubt last time. I'm going to give it to Anuvab this time. 14 seconds for you, Anuvab. Aunts and uncles starting now.
Cyrus's aunt, Aroshan, is a lovely lady. She likes to read Charles Dickens.
He hesitated.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
You said her name was Aroshan.
No, after that.
You're talking rubbish.
No, I swear. I swear on my aunt. I swear on my aunt. He did.
No, but he didn't hesitate. That's what I'm saying.
You were looking here. He did. He did ask the audience. Audience, this is very unfair. It's an anti-South Bombay thing.
I dislike all of you immensely.
All right, Cyrus. You fight hard for your points, don't you?
Thank you.
You've got 11 seconds left. Aunts and uncles starting now.
I will now name my uncles in order of appearance.
Cyrus, you challenged yourself.
Did I? It was my uncle.
Marcus. All right, Marcus, benefit of the doubt.
Yes, it was a repetition of I will now name.
No, I didn't say I will now name when I did the aunt thing. I said my aunts are. Marcus.
Imagine this going for 45 years without you.
You're quite right. How the hell did we do this game without you before?
You left in 1947. Why?
It was a quiet, organised, orderly game, and you suddenly come in the middle of it.
What do you think we did to cricket?
No, you may...
I hate to interrupt. I'm still trying to figure out the name of his aunt.
Roshan. He's Italian.
Hate to think what it's like in your home on occasions.
Separate bedrooms.
Separate bedrooms, but you've got all these aunts and uncles there.
And we're
8 seconds, Cyrus. Tell us more about your aunts and uncles, starting now.
Okay, starting now. This is going to a foreign language.
Marcus.
Deviation from any recognisable word.
All language. The entire tournament.
Right. Marcus, you have a correct challenge. You have 5 seconds. Aunts and uncles, starting now.
Aunts versus uncles was a game that we enjoyed playing as children, where my uncles would...
So, Marcus Brigstocke was then speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point, and has increased his lead at the end of the round. So as we move into the final round, let me give the situation. Anuvab Pal is in 4th place. But a very good 4th place. Yeah. Very strong.
It's the best 4th place.
A very colourful one as well.
Thank you.
And Cyrus Broacha, you're doing extremely well, but you're still in 3rd place. But you're only 2 points behind Paul Merton, and he is 3 or 4 points behind Marcus Brigstocke, who's in the lead as we begin the final round. And Marcus, it's actually your turn to begin. The subject is in a pickle. Tell us something about that phrase in this game, starting now.
In a pickle, I once found almost an entire lime. It was sour, bitter, and it hurt my mouth. However, I'd put it in, so I decided to swallow it anyway, and then coughed and spluttered all over the meal I was enjoying. In a pickle is a phrase that people use for when they find themselves in a tricky situation, such as being stared at by a room full of people who are yet to laugh at anything I've said in this particular section, although there they go now, albeit not all of them.
I think that round of applause is called sympathy.
You've heard a lot of it, haven't you, Nicholas?
Oh, you are wicked. I create a noose and I stick my head into it, don't I? Right. Cyrus, you challenge first.
Yes, sir.
What was it?
He stumbled.
I did.
And that's where they get the sympathy
Yes, that's
wave.
all right. No, you've got it right. I have to hear from you. 38 seconds. Its subject is in a pickle, starting now.
In a pickle, or as we like to say in India, in a pickle, because our pronunciations have always been a little different, means you're in a little bit of trouble. Now, let me explain to you my in a pickle situation.
Anuvab.
Deviation from how we pronounce pickle. Nobody says pickle. Who says pickle?
It's a long story. I can't.
Listen, do you anybody over here say pickle instead of pickle?
Fantasy, but I have heard a man say pickle. In Noida, I have heard a man say pickle. Give me the pickle. I heard it clearly.
The benefit of the doubt goes to Anuvab here. In a pickle's the subject. 28 seconds, starting now.
For the 3 million people who think we pronounce pickle, I just wanted to apologize.
Yeah, all right. It was hesitation. 29 seconds. In a pickle. Back with you, Cyrus. Starting now.
Some absolute moron calls it pickle. I call it pickle.
Marcus challenge.
Repetition of pickle.
Don't try and justify that one, Cyrus. You said
he's hitting below the pickle.
No. Marcus, 22 seconds available. In a pickle, starting now.
Pickling is a sport that I've enjoyed many times. It's similar to cycling, only different because you do it riding a piece of pickle.
Cyrus, you
Deviation. Where's the pickle situation? It's all gone. He's cycling and pickling and it's all over the place. I'm losing thought here.
Quiet! Control yourself, please!
I'm suffering. I want my lawyer.
You don't need a lawyer. You speak well enough on your own. I'm agreeing with you, Cyrus. It was a correct challenge from you. 17 seconds. In a pickle, starting now.
Yes, In a Pickle is a story about a young girl who had a little problem.
Marcus challenge.
Yes, deviation. I've never heard of the word.
In defense of Cyrus, it's a very common word in Delhi.
Marcus, correct challenge. And you have 12 seconds. In a pickle, starting now.
In a pickle, you can shove a massive dosa, which is exactly what I did this afternoon. The thing I was eating was larger than my leg, and I was very excited by the size of it. It was called a paper one, and it had cheese inside it and was smeared with pickle.
So, Marcus Brigstocke, speaking as the whistle went, gained another point. So, it only remains to give you the final score. Anuvab finished in 4th place.
Thank you very much.
And in 2nd place was his other Indian compatriot, Cyrus Broacha. But he was only 1 point behind Paul Merton, who has played the game many times.
Interject for a second,
Yes,
Your Lordship. I just think culturally, again, you've come to India, so it's not right that the foreign guy wins. We don't allow that, especially in cricket. So I would say that perhaps one of us should be given the grand prize, even though we were by far the worst two on the dais.
Well, let me put it this way. Marcus Brigstocke finished up with the most points. And technically, within the rules of just a minute, he is the winner. But as this is our 2nd visit to Mumbai, and I think our 2 Indian guests have contributed so much on both occasions, I'm going to say today they are both the joint winners.
And once again, another victory not legitimately earned.
I think your passion and your contribution and your erudition and your humour meant that it was properly earned.
Thank you.
It only remains for me to say thank you to these 4 fine players of the game, Paul Merton, Anuvab Pal, Cyrus Broacha and Marcus Brigstocke. I thank Talusha Galani for having helped me with the score and also blown her whistle with great aplomb, and who's produced this amazing show. And we're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game. So from them, from this audience, here in Mumbai, and from me, Nicholas Parsons, thank you for being with us, and tune in again the next time we play Just a Minute.
And you can find clips and photos from their Indian adventure on the Radio 4 website. Now, although that was the last in the present series of Just a Minute on radio, it's there on TV, complete with Nicholas Parsons on BBC 2 each weeknight at 6. And Busy Man, he'll be back here on Radio 4 to infiltrate and investigate India's jam clubs, which have been influenced by the show. That's next Monday morning at 11:30.